everyone, it's James from the Fit RV. Today I'm trying to come up with a new way to level our Class B rig. This is kind of important to me because I actually sleep better in a level rig. But this is sort of a work in progress. I've got some new processes and some new products I want to try out. This may work, it may not, but you're along for the ride and we're going to give this a try and see where it leads. Now, I have two objectives when I'm trying to develop this rig leveling process. First and foremost, this has to be a one-person deal. I care about keeping the RV level, but Steph doesn't. In fact, the first thing Steph says whenever we pull into any campsite is, this feels level enough, even if it's not. So this totally has to be a one-person deal. The second objective I have is I want to eliminate the amount of guesswork required. This sort of rules out any sort of system where I'm going to use like stacking blocks or anything like that, because remember, doing this solo, every time I want to change that, that means I got to put the RV in park, get out, get more blocks, put them under there, get back, yada, yada, yada. It's a pain. So with all that in mind, let's see what we're going to be working with today. So the first thing I'm going to be using is a smartphone. And no, I don't have an app I'm trying to sell you, although that's not a bad idea if this works out. No, the reason I want the smartphone is because it's got a surface level app. And on my iPhone here, that's just called Surface. And this app does two things that I want. The first is it gives you the level in decimal degrees. And I'm going to do some calculations later where I'm actually going to use that. The second thing it does is it beeps. And it beeps like as you get closer to level. Let's see if I can do it. And it even changes pitch. So that's important because remember, I have to do this solo. So if all else fails, I can just put it on the floor near the driver's seat and drive until I hear the pitch change to level. Awesome. So that's the first thing we're going to use. Next thing is a set of these. Now these are Anderson camper levelers. And I like these better than the Lego block systems, at least in theory. I haven't used them yet. I like these better than that because they're capable of producing like a continuum of lift. In other words, you're not stuck like with blocks, you're just getting either 1 inch or 2 inches of lift. You can get anywhere from half-inch lift. The way it works, you just put it in front of your wheel and you drive onto it, and wherever you stop, that's how much lift you have. So we've got those, and I haven't even opened the other one yet. Now, in the videos I've seen of these online, they use them mostly with travel trailers and fifth wheels. That's fine, but this should work for our Travato. Because in our Travato, we've just got single rear wheels, on the ends of the axles. If we had dualies, like on a heavy-duty Sprinter or something, it would take twice as many of these in order to level up the back wheels if you needed to. So since we have a Travato with single rear wheels, this is going to work just fine. Now, the one complaint I've heard about these things is that sometimes, and I can see why, because they're sort of hard plastic, is that sometimes, like on grass or something, they'll squirt out from under the wheel when you're trying to level up on them. And I can see how that could happen. So before I even start using these, I'm going to put some traction tape on them just to keep that from happening. So I'm going to do that now. Ta-da! And the third thing I'm using is a computer. You see, I actually started off trying to calculate how to level the RV, and that didn't work. It was easy enough for a three-wheeled vehicle with no suspension and an even weight distribution, but by the time you add a fourth wheel and the potential for uneven weight and a suspension which tries to soak up the irregularities, it was just a nightmare. There were too many unknowns and not enough equations. But some basic trigonometry is useful in this situation. So I've made a spreadsheet here, and I'll share this on our website. And if you know the wheelbase of your vehicle, that's the distance between the centers of your wheels front to back, and the track of your vehicle, that's the same distance between your centers side to side, you put those in and it will tell you for a given number of degrees how many inches of lift would be required to correct that, granted in a single plane in a straight line. But so the Anderson camper levelers have about 4 inches of lift they can give you. And with a spreadsheet and our Travato, I see that in the front to back direction, I could correct about 1.5 degrees of level, and side to side, I could correct about 3 degrees of level with those Anderson camper levelers. So I've printed out the spreadsheet. We're going to take it along with us when we go try to level some things. So let's get going. So the first thing I need to do is to get the rig level enough, which I've done here in the driveway. Now, probably the best place to measure that level is inside the refrigerator because that's what everybody's so concerned about, being out of level. So let's check it out. Okay, and here at the fridge, I'm pretty darn level. I am less than 1/10 of a degree out of level, both front to back and side to side. So now what I need to do, since I need to do this by myself, is I need to find a place near the cab where I get sort of this same reading within, allowing for error. So let's go up to the front. Okay, now getting in and out of the RV changes the angles of things, so it's best to measure this next one with yourself in the driver's seat. And so if I put my phone right there, I'm getting 0 and 0, which is basically the same thing I was getting inside the refrigerator. So that means if I'm adjusting the rig and I get a level here, I'm gonna get more or less the same thing in the fridge and everything is good. So basically I can do it all from sitting in the driver's seat. So now what we need to do is figure out my personal tolerance for being out of level. No jokes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set these up under the front wheels, and then I'm going to drive up on them until the level is more than I can tolerate, and then we're going to see what that number is. What that's going to do is that's going to give me a lower bound, like if I get it within 1/2 degree, I'm good, something like that. So let's get to it. Okay. Our RV actually is raised in the back about 1 inch because we've got sumo springs, so it's a little harder to get on level this way, but let me check this out. Yeah, that is right at the verge of what I think I could tolerate. So let's measure that and we'll see what we get. All right, and it looks like in the Y direction, which is front to back, we are out of level by 1 degree. So basically what I've learned there is that once I get to within a degree of level, I can't tell. I have to decide if that's good enough for the fridge, but the lower limit of what I need to resolve for angles is 1 degree. So let's back off these blocks and go find some unlevel parking lot. Okay, so here we are in an unlevel parking lot. And I thought the first thing I'd try would be a simple one direction level. So I've parked nose down in the parking lot. My iPhone says I've got an angle of minus 3.5 degrees. Now, according to the charts that I made, I shouldn't even be able to level that, but we're gonna give it a try anyway. So I'm gonna set up my leveling blocks and see what I can get for a level. Here we go. Oh, I can go further. Tiny bit further. Little bit more. Okay, that's as far as I'm comfortable going on these. And 3 degrees is clearly too much to use the Anderson camper levelers for our Travato. I only got it down to about 1.8 degrees of tilt. So I'm gonna flip this around and we'll try it with the back end up and we'll see if I can get it level that way. Okay, so I've turned around, now we're pointing up the hill. So what I'm going to try to do now is raise the back end to get level, right? The iPhone says right now I've got about 1.4 degrees of tilt. Hopefully I can get rid of that with these. So let's give it a try. All right, here goes nothing. I can go a little further. That's frightening, but the iPhone says I've got it to within 1/10 of a degree. I don't know that I would spend the night like that. That looks a little terrifying, but it seems to be holding for now. I'm going to very gently back off of this, and then we're going to maybe try a little side-to-side action, where I should have a bit more leeway. Okay, so now I've come and parked sideways across the parking lot. So we've got to lean towards the driver's side. According to the iPhone, it's about 2.6 degrees. And even though I'm in the same spot, it's not the 3 degrees. Go figure. Anyway, I'm going to set the blocks up under the driver's side wheels and see if I can level that out. Let's give it a try. All right, that's dead level, according to this thing. Okay, the iPhone says left to right, I'm dead level. Doesn't quite feel right. So if I put a regular old level down on the floor, the bubble's just a tiny bit over the line. And more than that, the back end of the coach is still high, and this just doesn't quite feel right. So we're gonna give this like a B. And what I'm going to try next is the dreaded one corner low, trying to level sort of in two directions at once. So we're going to give that a try next. Okay, so now I'm kind of out of level in two different directions. The iPhone says I'm actually out of level 2.2 degrees in both the X and the Y directions. So I guess I'm on a perfect 45-degree angle. Anyway, we're going to try this the easy way first, and I'm just going to try with one under this very low wheel, and we'll see where that gets me. Yeah, and I just get uncomfortable going any further than that. So right now the iPhone says I'm out 1.6 degrees front to back and 1 degree side to side. So what I think I'm going to do, since I can't go any further forward, is I think I'm going to take this one and put it behind the back wheel so I can at least even out the side to side direction, and we'll see how that feels when I get inside. But I got to back off this to do it. Okay, come in here and have a look at this. Okay, so what you see there is I got it to less than half a degree side to side, but front to back, I'm still out 2.2 degrees. So by actually putting the one on the other side on the back, I helped it in the X direction, but the Y now, I mean, that obviously jacked the tail end of the thing up more. So now I'm even more out of bounds on the Y. So don't know what to do here. I'm going to scratch my head for a minute and then see if I can come up with anything else to try. Okay, so I've kind of come to the conclusion that unless I wanted to get a third one of these to get all three of the wheels and then drive onto them at staggered offsets, this is kind of about as good as it's going to get. So knowing that, how does that compare to like the blocks that we've been carrying around? Well, normally I'd only ever put two of them under a wheel. And you can see it's about the same that I'd get with that. Now, granted, when I was doing the extreme leveling, these got up a bit higher. But at that point, I also became worried about driving off the end of it. So maybe this thing, the camper levelers really aren't the solution, because on a camper you can drive right off the front of it and it doesn't hurt anything, it just flips up. But if I drove off the front of it here, I'm kind of worried it would run into my mud flap or tear something off the underside of my RV. So I'm not going to drive off the front. So I'm going to go back into back to the house, and we'll think about this and come back with a wrap up. Okay, so what do I think about all of that? Well, the first thing actually is that the little chart I made with the track and wheelbase, I'm actually pretty pleased with that. When I needed to get 3 degrees and my chart said I could only get 1.5 degrees, and I got 1.5 degrees, and I got really nervous about driving over the edge of the thing, I think that was a win. And the same thing with the side to side, where it said I could get 3 degrees, I needed 2.6, I did it. That was a win. So the chart's good. It's not perfect, but it's a good reference if you're going to use these. So what do I think about these? Well, I think they could work great for campers, but in the Travato, I don't know that I'm that happy with them. I mean, yes, I could get, in theory, a little bit more lift here than I could with the blocks that we carry, but the danger is that if I drive off the front of this thing, first of all, I'm dropping my rig 4 inches, but then these are designed to flip up behind the wheel, and I'm worried I'm going to hit something on the underside. I got running boards, I got mud flaps, I got all sorts of stuff there, and this is like 1 foot and something long. So I'm a little worried that if I actually went to use these to the extent of their capability, that I would be in, danger of damaging my rig. And then the other thing I think about these things has to do with storage. So let's come to the back. Okay. This is where we store the blocks that we currently travel with. They all fit. I can get 4 of them in here and the door closes with that. That's great. But the camper levelers, I could get maybe 1 in there, right? But not the 2. I guess maybe go like that and get 2 of them in there, or like that. But let's give it a try. Oh, I turned the light on. So I could get 1 in there, but I don't think the door would close. I mean, this sticks out past my door seal, so they're not going to fit in the same spot. So for a camper, I think maybe these things would be great, but for a Class B RV where you've got limited storage space, even though these aren't that big in the grand scheme of things, they're kind of on the big side. Well, first of all, I'm not affiliated with Anderson Camper Levelers, Inc. in any way, shape, or form, so I can say what I want, but I don't think these are going to be what we wind up traveling with in our RV going forward. Yeah, they do have a bit more range than the blocks, but in the end, I was just so nervous about driving over the end. You saw how many times I was getting in and out of the rig to check on them. They weren't any less fussy than using blocks, and the extra capacity was only at the expense of extreme nervousness. So we're going to say they're nice, but they're just not for us. It's going to do it for now. It's been a long day. This is James from The Fit RV. We'll see you later.